Follow us on all our social media platforms as we are live on Instagram, YouTube, as well as Facebook. And thank you so much for supporting the podcast, as well as all the other podcasts that we have on private property. And just on that note, we are running a campaign where we want to know your thoughts and your feedback as to why you love the private property podcast and all the content and information that we share on all our platforms, including our website. So please tag us on hashtag 1 million. And we just want to know the 1 million reasons as to why you love the Private Property Podcast, and keep joining and supporting each and every podcast that we have during the week and on the weekends. I just want to read some feedback or some screenshots or comments that we've had from you lovely audience or viewers at home that have been so kind enough to share the information as to why you love private property. And so I just want to read a few of the comments here. We've got Vaisha Naidu, who says, I love private property because they cover a huge range of options and areas for properties. They're always on the ball in providing the best advice and guidance to anyone seeking to invest in property, ensuring that you are well informed and equipped to make the best decisions for yourself. And she goes on to say that, the clients that come onto the podcast are very friendly and they guarantee the best service, as well as, we're just not an agent who, takes people for granted, but we're always professionals in everything that we do. And so she then adds, hashtag 1 million followers and hashtag private property. Just another comment I want to read in before we get into our guest this evening is from Ponzo Mamelo Ntinye. And she says, congratulations, fam.
I love the private property because of the podcasts. They are so informative, and I love that you invite proper people to equip me with all the skills and knowledge I need for when I finally purchase my first property. Thank you for the free educational podcasts, fam. Hashtag 1 million followers, hashtag 5,000 shares, hashtag 10,000 comments. So please join the movement, hashtag 1 million followers, hashtag private property SA on all our social media platforms, and tell us your 1 million reasons why you love the farming podcast, as well as all the other private property podcasts that we have on our platforms. But tonight's guest is a female agripreneur. I'm always happy when I speak to female farmers, female professionals, female entrepreneurs in the sector, because it goes to show that there are actually females that are doing phenomenal work in the sectors, and that we're not hiding in our corners somewhere, but we really are focused on, growing the industry at large. And today's guest is Gugulethu Mahlangu, and we're going to speak about her initiative called Farm Spaces, which she holds on Twitter. And this ties into our topic for tonight's show about how to grow an online agri community. You know, these days, the world is literally virtual nowadays because of the global pandemic. And so online is such an integral part in learning and gaining information, especially around a sector that not many people know of. And so if you haven't catched on to Farm Spaces yet, I encourage you to please follow Farm Spaces, follow Gugulethu Mahlangu's work. And tonight's episode is all about what she does, and we'll get a bit more detail into Farm Spaces and how they're educating an online agri community. If you have any questions for our guest tonight, please comment, and we'll be happy to answer all your questions live onto the show. Well, let's get to it. Gugulethu, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Hi, Mbali. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you. Let's get into know firstly who Gugulethu Mahlangu is. So what do you do, and how are you operating in the agri sector at large?
Well, I'm a farmer. I'm currently working as an aquaponics horticulturist for a company. I'm trying to, broaden my horizons when it comes to farming and the agricultural sector. And I've started Farm Spaces this year. I started Farm Spaces this year. It feels like it's been forever, but I recently started Farm Spaces because I really wanted to bridge the gap of information when it comes to agriculture and kind of make someone else's life much more simpler than it was for me when I entered the agri sector.
That is fantastic. So you've given us a snippet as to why you started Farm Spaces and why this year. Why didn't you start maybe 2 years ago? Is it just because, a lot of people started inquiring, started reaching out to you, asking about agri information? And even if they were, what type of information were they seeking from you that made you start Farm Spaces?
That is a very good question, Bali, as to why this year, right? Because I'm sure, you as a female farmer as well can agree that, it's not easy being in the sector because of the lack of information access and, just mentorship, someone to guide you and hold your hand as to even where to just buy something as simple as your inputs. So, it was just a huge challenge for me. And the more people started inquiring, on Twitter and social medias that I use, that, hi, where do we get this? How do I do this? Where can I buy my produce? Where do we even get land? How to even plant a seed? I want to be a farmer, but I don't have that knowledge. So I just decided to take that up on myself, to be like, how about we talk about this, and because of COVID, I think it made me come up with a much more creative way to reach people with inquiries. And I initially, I'm always on Twitter. Twitter is one of my favorite social media apps. So because it's very engaging, right? We always have topics. There's always trending topics, so it's a very good tool to use to have conversations. So from that platform, they now launched this feature called Spaces. And what Spaces is just audio live conversations. So I was like, how about, I just start one. I mean, just really, testing it out and talk to farmers and just like, hey, let's have a conversation. And it was mind blowing, because when we got there, we realized we have so much to speak about. And I think that's when Farm Spaces was born. And it wasn't even called Farm Spaces. I think I called it Farmers Q&A, something like that. I'm not sure. But it wasn't, as established as it is now. It was more of an idea. Hey, guys, I know this guy's into cattle, that guy's into cattle. Please come. People want to know questions. I can't answer because I'm not into cattle. So that's how it started.
Wow. And just for any of our audience watching tonight that is maybe not familiar with the, with the Spaces platform within Twitter, how does one get involved? Do they just follow you on Twitter and then just wait for you to announce when this conversation is going to happen? And even when it does happen, how do people engage? Do they engage by asking questions, just typing them, or do they get the opportunity to speak to you directly and maybe to the farmer that is on that live audio platform? So maybe just take us slowly into how Farm Spaces work and how aspirant farmers and farmers alike can really participate in this dialogue of Farm Spaces.
All right. So firstly, it is on Twitter. So you would have to have the Twitter app on your phone. I know Twitter is working to get it on the desktop, but it's not, to my knowledge, that hasn't happened yet. So you have to have Twitter. So most of the time, farmers really aren't so social media savvy. So I'd kind of have to, tell them, hey, please download Twitter, even beg them sometimes, please just, download Twitter just for this occasion. So how it works is that you'd have to have Twitter. You don't necessarily have to follow me because Twitter generates a link that I can send to people. And now you can schedule your space. So, if you go on my page, I have a scheduled space for 5 p.m. 6 p.m. So you can, set a reminder for yourself. And, once you log in, it's an audio conversation. So it's almost like a podcast. There's no video, there's no video, it's just audio. And then we have experts. I usually choose a topic, but I love to engage with just the Twitter online community in terms of farmers and emerging farmers, aspiring, anyone in the agricultural sector. I ask them, what do we need to be speaking about? What kind of topics do we need to really talk about and let people understand or, create awareness? And from then, that's when I start the topic and I bring speakers, experts in the topic, in the field, and then we have a conversation. We have a conversation from how to start, where to go, what to do, and then usually I open up the floor for listeners to ask them direct questions because, I started Farm Spaces not really knowing where it would go, but now I found that what is really important for the Agri community online is information. So they are now driving Farm Spaces in the sense that they are able to be like asking you, hi, Mbali, how do I do this? How do I do that? Where do I go? And then you can give them an answer. And I really feel like it's such a fulfilling platform because you hear it from the horse's mouth. So that's where people can find it. And that's what it's about. It's a casual conversation in terms of the questions. If you can't, maybe, people are shy sometimes. If you don't want to speak, you can just send me a DM. I usually also read the questions that people text me.
Yeah, I think it's such a great initiative because we can never have enough information, especially around the sector, because every farmer is different. Everybody cultivates or farms differently, raises their cattle, livestock, chickens differently. There's not one approach to make it a success in this industry. So it's a great platform that you've brought on, and especially also roping in experts, because we all have different journeys going into the sector. And as farmers, we're all farming in different geographic regions, so what might work well in KZN might not work well in the Northwest, in Mpumalanga, vice versa. Just again, on the farm spaces, you mentioned it's all about Twitter. How long do the conversations last? And how do you manage an influx of questions where then people start saying, I want to come to the farms and visit, because as much as farming, you might learn from a theoretical aspect, there's still a practical, physical element into farming. So how do you then manage people who say, I want to now visit farms, to the farmer in that floor, or the expert who's providing expert advice? How do I then go visit farms to actually get practical training? How do you solve inquiries such as those?
Mbali, I think because we are bringing experts who are willing to share information, who are willing to school us on a certain topic, they are opening themselves up. They are saying, hey, if you need any further advice, or, if you'd like to touch base with me, you can contact me at, then they leave their details. And that will be up to the farmer and the aspiring farmer or anyone else to take that next step. I think what Farm Spaces is doing is that we are just trying to provide a platform for conversations, and we are providing a platform for learning, so that, tomorrow you are able to know that, perhaps the government institutions have certain funding or programs available to you. Maybe you did not know that, or that, starting on a hectare is more wiser than investing all your money on a 10 hectare. So it's these conversations that get people really clued up about how the agri industry works. And from then on, they now have the responsibility to use that information as they wish.
Wow, this is fantastic. And I just want to know as well, what are some of the frequently asked questions that have come up onto the Farm Spaces? Just if you could share some of them, so that we also know, what people really want to know about the agri sector. So it will be interesting to know, what are the frequently asked questions that time and time again, week in, week out, you're getting within the Farm Spaces platform?
I think it's very difficult to answer that one, because there's so many different topics we've covered. We've done recently, we've done beekeeping, we've done cabbage, we've done exports, we've done so many different topics, and they all have their own different needs. So but I really feel like number one topic will always be profitability. People want to know, can I make a career out of the space that I'm venturing into? Can I make money? Is this worth my time? Is this worth my investments? Is this worth me going to school for, taking up courses? Is this even worth me leaving my job? So people want to know that the agricultural sector is profitable, is able to, put food on the table for themselves. I feel like farmers work tirelessly to put food on the table for the nation, but, are they making income? So that, for me, I feel like is the number one question, or rather question mark on the agricultural sector. Where is it going? How profitable is it? Do we have the right channels to ensure that new emerging farmers are able to be, commercial and, be there for a long time, not just open up a farm and try something and it doesn't work out and then you go back to your day job. So really the passion that is around agriculture, how do we turn that into careers?
Right. And am I correct in saying that a lot of the audience members that join the Farm Spaces are aspirant farmers? Is it people that just want to go into farming, that maybe have land at home and they haven't started anything and they're just curious about, how do I enter this industry, like you've said, based on the frequently asked questions? So majority of the audience members within Farm Spaces, or that join this dialogue, aspirant farmers, or have you found that there are many farmers who are still seeking to upskill their own knowledge and information about the agri sector?
Great question. Yes. Funny enough, it is always emerging farmers. Farmers actually want to upscale. So it's farmers that are already in the industry looking to be profitable. So something is not working where they are, and it's interesting, I think, that we have all these farmers in the agricultural sector. I feel like I was, one of them. So we are in the sector, but like, how do we become profitable? How do we move from point A to B? I've been in point A for maybe a year, 2 years. I don't see growth. So that is the information that people really want to know. How do I become a better farmer? How do I become profitable? Is it, possible for a small scale farmer like myself to mechanize? So it's such questions that, farmers really need more information on. How do they make this a career? Where do they go when they want to get extra funding or capital so that they can grow their businesses? So it always comes from that aspect. And obviously they are, aspiring farmers on the space that really want to join agriculture. I feel like agriculture is always that attractive, sector to go in because of all, I guess, misconceptions about it. People think it's rose and, sunrises and sunsets, but it is an attractive sector. But people need to now understand, how do we grow in the sector? How do we, start making money? And most importantly, how do we transfer skills? We have so many skilled and wonderful farmers in the agricultural sector that, are a good source of mentorships. How do we access that knowledge? So that's something that I've picked up on Farm Spaces, that a lot of us need information on how to really make these careers.
Fantastic. If you're just tuning into the Private Property Farming podcast this evening, we are speaking to Ukukulethu Mahlangu. She's a farmer and agripreneur and also the founder of Farm Spaces. And she's just pretty much, summarized what Farm Spaces is about. It's a platform on Twitter where you get to engage in interactive dialogues, topic specific related to agriculture. And she's mentioned that so far she's hosted dialogues around beekeeping, cabbage, exports, etc. And a lot of the people that join Farm Spaces are aspirant farmers who want to know about, the dynamics that the industry holds, access to finance, markets, information, transfer of knowledge, transfer of skills. And you just need to follow her page on Twitter, and she will tell us her Twitter handle at the end of the show. But if you're just watching and you're just curious to know who's this female farmer that we're talking to, it's Ukukulethu Mahlangu, and we're talking about how to build an online agri community. And specifically for this topic tonight, we're talking about Farm Spaces. So Gugu, I just want to find out, because we've seen on social media, you are doing Farm Spaces alongside Food from Mzansi as a brand, and we've had Food from Mzansi on the show as well. So how did that partnership or collaboration come on board? And if you could just please give us some insights into that.
Food from Mzansi is, an online digital platform that really promotes agriculture and food in general. And I really feel like I got attracted to them very instantly because of just the work that they do. They're forever rooting for the farmer, big and small. And, so I have been featured on Food from Mzansi, and I have a good, close working relationship with them. They had a program, Senior with Journalism, Citizen Journalism program that I applied for. And, I got accepted, and it was a year-long program. And, I won for Northwest Province. So I'm officially a citizen journalist for Food from Mzansi. So, with that partnership with them and that relationship that I built, and them seeing what I was doing, I think they picked it up very easy because they're so good at that. They're so good at, looking out for the real stories in our sector. they were like, we really love this platform and we want to collaborate with you. And I was like, absolutely. I definitely am aligned with what Food from Zanzi is doing. And I knew that they already have the stories that are out there. So we could make a perfect partnership where they expose me to, the wonderful farmers that they've interviewed, and I can bring the space that I am working on, and we could speak about it and really promote the farmer. Because so many times, people want to get information and not really understand that farmers work very hard for that information that they want. So with that partnership that I had with Food from Zanzi, we decided to look at the stories that are most impactful and decide on topics that, okay, let's feature this farmer because they had covered an article on him or her, and get them on the show. And so it's been a very smooth transition for me as a founder of Farm Spaces, because I had to do everything alone. I had to get the farmer, I had to call, I had to DM. Sometimes I had to, please beg and be like, please come, we really need you here. So with this partnership, it's made it very easy for me, and it's working very well.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about getting the farmers onto the show, because I know farmers are just by nature introverts. They don't like being on social media platforms. So tell me about that process of actually getting the different farmers who have different skill sets to get onto the show. How's that journey like?
It's hard. I don't want to lie to you. It's hard, because they're on farms sometimes, there's no network, and it's like, this was your guest, and now like there's nothing you can do because you can't even hear them. So it's those challenges. But my heart was in the right place. I think everyone knew that. Okay, she really tried to bring the speaker. Stuff happened. They're on farms, so they understood. And I was still starting out, so Food from Zanzi and that partnership kind of also helped mitigate that, because then, they give me their stories way in advance, and I am able to communicate with the farmer, way in advance. So I can brief the farmer that, hey, this is how it's happening. Maybe do a mic check, 1-2-1-2 with them, also just brief them so that they can understand what they are exposing themselves to. Because farmers are introverts, you're right, Mbali, and they just want to keep their space. They just want to farm. They're not really interested in much. So it's such a privilege to always have them on the show, because they're imparting so many valuable lessons. Yeah. And I always get such positive feedback every farm space that, wow, thank you so much for bringing this farmer. It's a farmer that I looked up to, and they really made me understand, maybe how to grow spinach, or when to irrigate, or maybe they even shared their fertilizer programs with them. So it's stuff like that really make it worthwhile.
Wow, it's just incredible to see how far you've come from just starting it from an idea to working with Food from Zanzi to obviously creating an impact and creating a space that becomes a knowledge hub for people who want to farm or be in the agri sector. I just want to ask as well, with the audience that have been part of Farm Spaces, have you picked up that you're getting a lot more females onto the platform, or young people? What's the interest like? Like, who are you attracting within Farm Spaces? Because, I'm sure you know this, that, when you speak about agri, it's all male dominated. There's not enough females in the sector. There's not enough youth in the sector. So what have you found since you started Farm Spaces? Are there a lot more females being attracted to the space or being participating in the dialogues, as well as are there a lot of youth participating in the dialogues as well?
Mbali, I wish I had some sort of metric to measure that, because each and every topic is different. We've had speakers from Africa, which I thoroughly enjoy, to have African voices in the farming spaces, which, further cements how global, food production is. And, we have a lot of Africans, from Zim, from Uganda, Ghana, Kenya especially, and they all come to the space, and it's mostly males. I have to admit that it is mostly males, but there are females that are coming into the sector, coming into their own. I think a lot of times females are still feeling, what's the word now? I don't want to say, I feel like there's a bit of fear when it comes to females, especially maybe even to ask questions, on farm spaces, because the males are dominating so much. And I am hoping to change that by inviting more female speakers on the topics that I have, just to ensure that there's always a female voice, so that we can encourage and uplift females, so that they can see that, agriculture, commercially, in livestock, in crop production looks like them. So currently it is still male dominated, and it's males from all across Africa. But we are trying our best to change that. Recently, with our beekeeping episode, we had a wonderful lady from Eden Roots who makes her own products. She's a beekeeper and she makes her own products. So that was a very inspiring session for the women involved, because they now were able to ask a lot of questions, and they started, speaking to her directly and trying to find out more on the fields, because they kind of saw a representation of themselves. So it is still a male dominated field. We still have a long way to go there, but it is slowly changing.
Right. And whilst we're still on the topic of females, and considering that we are still in Women's Month, what advice would you give to females in the agriculture space? Not necessarily farmers, but young graduates who have graduated in any agri course, to farmers, yes, to professionals working for agri corporate South Africa, to women working in associations. What advice would you give to females in the sector as part of Women's Month?
I think my advice to women in the sector would be to gather as much information as you can. Information is power, and equip yourself with some sort of training or education, because I think that really does go a long way. And most importantly, get yourself a mentor. I think we always hear this amongst ourselves, but we really don't appreciate the value that a mentor can bring, because a mentor can really help save your time, so that you are able to do the right thing from the onset. So I would advise, try to get a mentor. I know farmers are very, very busy, and maybe time is not on their side, but, try shadowing them. Shadow them. Also, don't have the fear of being intimidated by the male-dominated industry that we're in. I feel that women need to really find their inner voice, really find their inner power, because, once that's unleashed, you can really only go to the top from there. So believe in yourself. You are amazing, you are smart, you're beautiful, and you're also very capable. You can do the job just as better as the next person. So I really feel like, just that industry fear, women need to rise above that. And, we are here, you are here, Mbali, so many amazing women in the sector doing amazing things out there to draw inspiration from. So I would definitely encourage women to take up space,
Yeah. Hashtag take up space. Thank you so much for your time this evening, Coco. We really appreciate your efforts, and with this platform or dialogue that you started with Farm Spaces. I hope people or our audience watching tonight could just follow you. If you could just end off the show with maybe your Twitter handle, so that people maybe could follow you and then look out for the dialogues in future. And yeah, I think that is it from us. But thank you so much for your time. But please, if you could just share your Twitter handle for us.
Okay, thank you so much, Mbali. My Twitter handle is guguletu_C for cats, M for mummy, and same with my Instagram. But I really, Twitter is my favorite app ever. Please reach out to me on Twitter. So yeah, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Gugu. We were just speaking to Guguletu Mahlangu, and our topic for this evening was how to start an online agri community. And we got to learn about her initiative or space within Twitter called Farm Spaces, which is pretty much a dialogue where an aspirant farmer or a farmer can join in and ask questions and maybe educate, transfer skills, transfer knowledge through this Farm Spaces platform and assist each other. You know, it's all about community, sharing knowledge, providing valuable insights and advice. And maybe you might just, you know, grow a successful farm from all the experts that she brings on to the show. So she did mention a Twitter handle, guguletu_CM, I believe, and just follow her on Twitter. She is best on Twitter, as she mentioned, and look out for her posts regarding Farm Spaces. But before we end the show tonight, I just want to read one last comment with regards to our 1 million followers that we've reached on our Facebook platform. And this one is from Ngateko Agape. She says, I love private property because it goes beyond property advertisements. Private property is a trendsetter in the property space. It is a networking and educational platform that is in touch with its clients, its buyers visiting it to shop, agents and sellers, as well as advertisers, their properties. This is not an organization that exists to make profits, but is generously giving back to the community. Thank you, private property. Thank you, Ngateko, for being part of the private property community, supporting all our podcasts that we have on private property, and continue to like, share, comment on our social media platforms. Go onto our YouTube channel, subscribe. We've got tons of content there. And also thank you for supporting the Farming Podcast. Be sure to catch me on Thursday at 8 p.m. with another wonderful guest. However, this is it from me. See you on Thursday. Take care.